This problem of wireless interference is getting worse and worse each year because we love our personal wireless devices.
The best speakers of engineering and science own their content. They do not read their words from notes or slides, nor do they memorize their words. Rather, through practice, the best speakers in engineering and science learn the sequences of ideas in their talks and then fashion the wording of those ideas on the spot.
So, a little background. We learned about in physics about the electromagnetic spectrum. It's got your X-rays, light rays, infrared, etc. And the radio spectrum or the wireless spectrum is part of that, and it's longer wavelength than infrared. And it's arbitrarily defined by the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, to go from 3 kilohertz to 300 gigahertz. And it's chopped up into a bunch of small bands, as you can see in this chart behind me. And each band has a certain purpose. So you have your cell bands, you have radio astronomy, you have TV bands, and then we have our beloved 2.4 and 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi bands. Now, when I talk about bandwidth in this presentation, it's pretty simple. All it is the width of one of these rectangles. So if the rectangle went from 30 to 35 megahertz, its bandwidth is 5 megahertz. And so I talked about at the beginning that I couldn't connect to Penn State's internet. And I said that we're selling billions and billions of new devices. So one possible reason, one root cause of why I couldn't connect and why we have this interference is because maybe we've just sold too many devices. Maybe we've saturated this chart because the wireless spectrum is a finite resource and we can only have so many devices using it at one time. But I'm here to tell you, but that's not the problem. The problem is that we're not using it efficiently. Most of those billions of devices are going into just those 2 little red blocks there, using Wi-Fi. While the rest of that gray area, a lot of it's not being used or it's not being used efficiently. And it's really this inefficiency that's driving this wireless interference problem.
Now let's look at the problems that urban heat islands cause.
The best speakers of engineering and science explain their visual evidence. In addition, the best speakers using the assertion-evidence approach set up the next slide before they show that slide. In other words, they make a transition to the next slide before that slide appears.
Now, urban heat islands not only affect the economy, but they also affect human health as well. Heat island areas do not get the opportunity to cool down overnight like do their rural counterparts, so that heat index remains much higher, and that makes people more susceptible to heat-related health issues, such as heat strokes, heat exhaustion, respiratory difficulties, or even heat-related deaths. And this problem has been growing in the past decade or so, and that's what's being shown here on this graph. So what we're seeing, the blue bars represent the number of weather fatalities specifically from the year 2011, while the red bars are showing an average of these deaths over the span of the past 10 years, starting in the year 2002. And if we take a look at the center, at the heat-related bars, what we can see is that the number of deaths from the year 2011 are significantly higher than the past 10-year average. So this means that heat-related deaths are certainly on the rise.